Wait, this thing heals?
Yeah.
No, what the hell? I just busted.
40.
I get a soul charge 1. I got the top card, bro.
Hey everyone, this is Curb and I bring you another history match. We are once again going to be continuing with the BT6 content with Angel Feather once again on the left, this time being piloted by my teammate Joshua. Of course, his first time ever actually playing anything resembling Angel Feather, so we'll see how he does. Anyways, of course we do have Tim, the only person who wants to play OTT in this format, trying to make OTT work. We'll see if if OTT can actually do anything in this matchup. I don't know. I think I would say that Angel Feathers are maybe a little bit higher power than Spike Brothers, the last thing that they fought up against. But we'll just have to see with the match. So, we do have a misride. We are playing the Erogodial ride chain, of course. We did whiff on the grade 1, which means we're not going to be getting that top 7 search. But we were able to get, I think it's like the Fate Collector, the grade 2, so that when we do ride into that grade 3 Erogodial over it, we will actually be able to use its on-ride skill. So, we do have OT2 riding into the Wise Man, obviously just your most optimal ride target, although a lot of the time it doesn't really make that much of a difference, but who knows, sometimes it might. Anyways, swinging the Mocha at the Vanguard, he's going to be hitting, swinging the Wise Man rear guard, I guess maybe a little bit of misplay because we don't really play any stand triggers in OTT, so theoretically you could just swing Van first and then stack triggers on any rear guards, but looks like we're going to be hitting into a defensive draw trigger there, so we're going to be swinging at the Vanguard for a 1 to pass, going to be guarding with a 5k shield to make it a 2 to pass. Of course we do hit a heal trigger there, but of course it is not going to be activating because, you know, obviously you're at 1 damage and you just push them to 3. So, riding the grade 3 Erogodial, is it Fate Healer or something like that? I don't remember what they're called. But anyways, riding it is going to allow you to put 2 cards from your hand into the damage zone, and then you're able to actually just grab 2 cards straight from the damage zone. So we do see a copy of the grade 2 as well as the 8k vanilla being put into damage zone. And then of course just adding back that 8k vanilla because it's just an overall very good solid card. And then adding back that 10k vanilla that we damage checked earlier. Looks like we're calling out another grade 2. Maybe this was a little bit of a miscall because you could have put the booster behind the Fate Healer in order for it to actually hit the Wise Man, because that 10k vanilla can actually hit the Wise Man all on its own without being boosted. But at the end, there's still that Mocha to attack into, so it looks like we are going to be going straight for that. Swinging the Vanguard with an on-hit. 15k is going to be a very good magic number. First check is going to be a heal trigger, and since we are at 3, we are going to be able to heal down. Unfortunately, we did not think about what we should be healing, because in Angel Feather, the cards in your damage zone do actually matter, so it is pretty important what you do actually heal. We do actually see the Persona Blast being procced here, healing out the card that is not the draw trigger. A bit of a misplay, as you can clearly see. I'm not even going to try and sugarcoat it, but that is just like a pretty big misplay because, you know, Angel Feather's damage zone is a second hand, and you could have had access to that grade 2 or the grade 1, but instead all you have access to right now is a draw trigger. Anyways, the CO Amaterasu is going to be ridden here, of course, just being OTT's main boss target. Not really going to be doing a whole ton. Going to be soul charging 1, scrying. We call out the Apollon. Going to be swinging at the Vanguard for a 14k with the 4 cards in hand. That is going to be able to hit this 11k base Vanguard, which is somewhat relevant because neither of these rear guards can actually hit the Vanguard. So I'm pretty sure I've said it before, but at this point in Vanguard, 10k is pretty much the base for a lot of Vanguard units, or boss units I should say. But when you're at 11k, that makes things a lot harder, because like pretty much everything just needs a booster, and especially for a deck like OTT that kind of doesn't really want to, you know, commit a bunch of cards to their board because they want to keep cards in hand. It's going to be really annoying. Anyways, we did see the Nostio being played there, and then opting to not use its skill. Makes sense. We probably don't have a whole ton. Angel Feather actually looking kind of low in cards in hand, just because I guess we've just been guarding a whole bunch, and of course that's reducing our hand size. And then of course the Wise Man just swinging in at that rear guard. Definitely makes sense to target the 10k, because that thing will be able to attack even unboosted. Although I guess pretty much anything in front of it, as long as it's not like a 6k, is going to be able to make a nice magic number. And speaking of nice magic numbers, we've got 15, 15, and an 18, which are all going to be calling for 10k guards. So swinging in the Vanguard, hitting into a critical trigger there, not seeing a single defensive there, quickly swapping for the triple rare art there, in case you missed that. Swinging this Fate Healer for 20k, which is going to be calling for a 15k guard. We are already at 5, so that is going to be, you do have to guard that, which is like kind of worrying. That's a 2-card guard. It's like we're calling down the Lozenge Magus and then guarding with a Mocha from hand, so we are going to be surviving. Now there is one technical upside to actually, you know, being at 5, which is that technically CEO Amaterasu's Mega Blast is live, which, if that goes off, that'd be very, very funny. Because, like, for one, Mega Blasts are just a funny concept. And second of all, what are the chances of, you know, actually seeing it? And when it does actually pop off, it is very funny. But anyways, probably just deciding what we want to do. We did get the Soul Charge and Scry one. We saw the, I forget her name, the one Battle Sister being called down, but we opted not to. But looks like we're just going to be swinging at the rear guard, you know, getting a little bit of some of the rears off the board, kind of just reducing the offensive pressure, which is definitely a valid strategy considering the amount of cards that Angel Feather has in their hand. They're probably running out of, like, you know, offensive tools. We did see a draw trigger there. Going to be going to that Pollen, who's going to be trying to hit that Fate Healer, and Wise Man is going to be swinging in at. We're going to be trading the high shield card value in our hand in order to actually, you know, just protect our rear guards. Top decking a Circular Saw there, just to be calling it to be another beater, because we do just kind of need units. We just need big bodies in order to just like swing in. You are at a very big advantage here, and theoretically OTT could try putting on the pressure, but honestly 2 to 6ing someone in this format is nigh impossible. So what you could be doing is, you know, just trying to go for some pressure. But at the same time, you've got 3 attacks coming at you every single turn. That's going to take out a decent amount of cards in your hand, especially when they are hitting for nice magic numbers like this, like the Erogodial. Swinging at that 15, even though it only has a 4k booster, that 10k, that 11k base is making for a lot of value here. We see a critical trigger being flipped and a second critical trigger, putting double criticals on both of these rear guards, meaning that both of them are going to be calling for 15k guards. So we see a Psychic Bird and a Luck Bird being used to guard this Circular Saw. Curial, I believe her name is. And then, of course, we got the 20k attack here. We are going to be committing 3 cards from hand to guard that, which we kind of desperately needed to do, because, you know, otherwise you'd have just lost there, and it would have been a 2 damage attack. So the chances of you actually healing that are pretty slim at this point. Anyways, OTT in probably the worst possible situation, 1 card in hand. At 5 damage, you're going to really need a bit of a miracle in order to actually, you know, come back from this, as we do see a continuance of the attacking at the rear guards. We do see a heal trigger here off of the top, followed by a critical trigger, giving all the effects to the Apollon, and then giving the critical trigger all effects to the Apollon as well. So we did manage to push back a little bit of tempo there, as we swing in the Apollon at that Curial, continuing to kind of diminish the rear guards. I think in this situation you could afford to give like 1 damage at this point. Like, honestly, like, the more you damage Angel Feather, the more options you technically do give them, but at the same time, you know, you gotta win the match sometime. But you do also need to be worried about that limit break, because, you know, Curial with an extra 5k is making just like really good numbers. If we were to place a booster, that would be even more disastrous, because we go from like 15 to possibly like 20 or higher. We see nothing off the drive check. It looks like we opted to take that. Obviously, we don't have the 2 counter blasts, so even if we did have the Persona Blast, we wouldn't have been able to do it. We see the No Seal being used as an attacker, boosting with that Sunny Smile Angel. The Sunny Smile Angel is going to try and put itself back, but actually, funnily enough, Lozenge Magus and all those heal triggers like Battle Riser and Sunny Smile actually go back to the deck at the end of turn and not at the end of the and that they boosted, which I guess is kind of just there to ensure that you don't like boost with them and then hit them off of your drive checks. But anyways, things are still looking pretty bad for OTT. You've got like 2 cards in hand. At least you have a full front row, so you're not desperately hurting. I'm going to be swinging the Amaterasu in at that rear guard. Hitting another double trigger there, a draw trigger followed by a critical trigger, but still going to be going after those rear guards. I guess there is some logic to getting to a point when Angel just runs out of rear guards to call, and they're reduced to like 1 to 2 attacks per turn, if even that. Yeah, so looks like we're just going to continue the onslaught. We see double no-seal coming on down here, PGing the Vanguard's attack, hitting into a critical trigger, giving the effects to that no-seal, and then a second check is going to be another grade 1 no-seal. Swinging the 13. Instead, at the Wise Man, I believe we gave the critical to the other column. Not that it really matters because both these attacks are technically lethal. Swinging the 16 in at the Vanguard, it's going to be calling for a 10k guard. So obviously we do have to guard that, just counting the cards in Soul. I kind of missed how many there were there, but looks like we're going to be committing that 10k guard with the Wise Man and the Luck Bird. So OTT somehow managing to hang on there, as you know, we saw CEO Amaterasu soul charging and then checking the top card of the deck. Kind of deciding where to put it. We do have that Psychic Bird there, so theoretically if that's a good card that we want, we could just leave it on top and then just Psychic Bird draw it, but looks like instead we're going to put it to the bottom and then Psychic Bird to draw a different card, which turns out to be that CEO Amaterasu. And I think with that Psychic Bird, that might have actually been the 8th card to be put in the Soul. Let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, that's 8 cards in Soul, and we actually did call a second CEO Amaterasu. So the funny thing, in case you don't know, Mega Blasts are actually active on both Vanguard and Rear Guard, and I do not believe they actually have to hit the... Do they have to hit the Vanguard? I don't remember. I don't think they do. But either way, we're going to be hitting there. Counter Blasting 5, Soul Blasting 8, and then CEO Amaterasu's Mega Blast skill is that you get to draw up to 5 cards. Not draw until you have 5 cards in your hand, but you choose a number between 1 and 5 and you just draw that many cards, which in all honesty might be enough to like put us back in this game. But at the same time, you saw the size of that deck. It is getting very small. We've used up a lot of offensive pressure. Well, we still don't have a lot of offensive pressure. We have to deal 4 more damage, and theoretically we would have to do it before we run out of cards, especially being on that CEO Amaterasu is going to also be deck thinning you another card. So the reason why we're not just auto drawing 5 cards is because we do want to count how many turns we can optimally like live, because you have to count for the soul charge at the start of turn, you have to count for the twin drive, you're going to be attacking with your Vanguard. I think ideally what you would want to do is draw so that you have enough cards to, you know, do your twin drive twice and do the soul charge. So that would be 6 cards with the soul drive and the twin drive, and then of course you still do need to keep 1 card in deck. So theoretically you would want to keep 7 cards in deck in order to actually, you know, be able to you know, deal damage, I guess. We do see more rear guards being attacked into, so maybe a little bit of a questionable play, because, you know, now, you know, OTT, you are kind of on a clock, you know, a self-imposed clock, as we see yet another PG being placed down, a draw here. We do see that at long last, Angel Feather has kind of just run out of rear guards, as we do see like a Battle Cupid no-seal being called here. That trigger making a 19k column, but with those extra 5, I don't remember how many we drew, I wasn't paying attention, but those extra cards are going to be, you know, kind of just putting us back in the game. But we do have to think, okay, am I going to be able to you know, close things out? And we're also not sure how many more draw triggers are left in the deck, which could definitely speed up that clock. But ooh, we do see a Lozenge Magus here, which is definitely a very interesting play, because Lozenge Magus is going to be putting itself back in the deck. At the same time, you are giving up a 10k guard, but you know, you're technically putting more cards in your deck. You're what am I trying to say? You're increasing the clock, so you don't have to do things as quickly as you might otherwise. We do see a Tom being played here, hitting into a heal trigger. It'll allow us to heal back down to 4. So theoretically, we could take 1 damage, but taking that damage is going to mean that you have 1 less card in deck. So the Tom did actually get that trigger power, so he is going to be at 13, going to be able to attack and still swing in at the rear guards because the Amaterasu can't actually hit that 11k Vanguard. Just going to be hitting the Tom into the Vanguard. Finally going to be able to hit, as we still do continue with 4 cards left in deck, I believe. So as long as we don't take a damage here, we are going to be able to have 1 final turn, given we don't, hit into a draw trigger. But we see the Vanguard finally changing as we ride into the Circular Saw. Nocio counterblasting 1, and then you do choose a face-up card from your damage zone, and then just Superior Call it. And then, of course, the top card of your deck is placed face down in your damage zone. So a little bit different than things like Garmor or Thunderbreak Dragon, but effectively you're paying 2 counterblast in order to, do the skill, just because like the card gets put face down, and it's not just a straight counter charge. So calling down the AK Vanilla, swing with the Vanguard, another PG being used to block this Vanguard swing. We're going to do drive checks. We get nothing off the first check, and the second check is also going to be a nothing. So this AK is just going to be going after Tom, and then this other column is just going to be a 17k. It'd be nice to keep the Tom around, but at the same time, it looks like we are actually going to be opting to keep the Tom around there. Going to be guarding that last one with Lozenge Magus that we had in our hand. As we go ahead and Soul Charge and check the top card, we can see it's a draw trigger there. But it looks like we did forget to account for one thing, and I'm sure you guys might have been yelling at me at the screen. We forgot to account for the cards you draw for turn, which should have added 2 more cards. So instead of keeping 7 cards in deck in order to actually, live those turns, I think we would have needed to keep 8 or 9, something like that. But as you can see, with only 2 cards in deck, we'd have to deal 2 damage with nothing but our current board, which nothing is actually hitting, funnily enough. Nothing is actually going to be able to hit the Vanguard. Tom isn't strong enough. Amaterasu, or actually, now that we're at 10k base, we can actually hit the Vanguard. But it's just going to be a 5k guard there. 10k at the Vanguard, just going to be an maybe an intercept, just be guarding from hand. You can clearly see that Angels has more than enough cards, so we're just going to end things with our Twin Drive here, decking ourselves out. So that is going to be the match. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to do those things, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.